Kenya's biggest conversation gets into the third hour. Thank you very much for tuning in wherever you are online, www.spicefm.co.ke or on Spice FM around the country now. We have a new audience joining us on KTN Home for the next 1 hour as well. Welcome. Enjoy the radio experience on TV. Let's start with today's proverb. CT?
I begin to at least comprehend how it is people who try to learn other languages at an advanced age, the tribulations that they go through. Let me wade into further tribulation again.
Okay.
I am going to try and say this proverb in the language it was first spoken in. Okay? Muria na gari gishiko, muria na kara ekuhia. Now, I have massacred it less than I did previously.
As the hours go by, you're doing a little better.
And my
Muria na gishiko da shiragia.
What I said previously.
Muria na kara.
Let me speak it in a language that rolls off my tongue easier.
Okay,
mother tongue influence and all that. One who uses a spoon does not realize that one who uses the fingers gets burnt.
All those things you're saying, that's what they meant.
This is what, not only does it only mean that, I am finding that in this cool ambience in the studio, I'm actually sweating at the nose, just trying to pronounce this thing as it should.
That's what it feels like to be in the hot seat.
So you threw it out there, and there's some people who've already commented and said, okay, this is actually how the proverb goes. Muria nagishiko damenyaga muria na jara neaheaga.
Okay.
Now I get it.
Actually, you know something? If I ask somebody from Nyeri, and I have somebody from Muranga,
and somebody else from
Kirinyaga. Same thing, believe me, there'll be a variation.
A very different one.
But it means the same thing.
Yes. Let's talk about retirement benefits. The CEO of the Retirement Benefits Authority is in the studio. Mr. Nzomo Mutuku, welcome. Thank you for joining us again on the show.
Thank you for inviting me back, and I'm happy to be here with this distinguished team in the Situation Room and to tell you more about saving for retirement. So thank you very much.
How do you call Retirement Benefits Authority in Swahili?
Halmashauri ya uzeeni.
Malipo ya uzeeni.
Ama sio ya kustaafu.
Halmashauri ya malipo ya uzeeni.
That's right.
Yes, that sounds good, uzeeni.
Or
But to retire to staafu.
Malipo ya ustaafu.
No, I am merely speaking linguistically here. Sometimes you need to say something that explains what it is that you do. Yes, and when you say uzeeni, it explains it better. Because you can staff when you're young.
It's pension.
Yes.
As you can see, my Swahili is not the best, but my Kikamba is very good.
All right.
So how do you say it?
He's going to tell us a Kikamba proverb before he leaves.
Yes.
Voilà.
The
Yes.
equivalent of the Kikuyu proverb.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Ni sawa.
Nasawa, indeed. Sawa. Now, let's talk about RBA and the work that you've been doing. The last time you were here, you told us a lot of work that's there. What RBA does in terms of being the regulator of this sector, the various organizations and schemes that you register and you regulate and you manage. And I'm sure even the last time, there were people who were asking various questions about their own experiences with their pension schemes. And we'll ask them also to ask questions today as well in the issues that they're having. But then today's topic is about how you can actually take advantage of this money that you're putting aside before you get to drawing it out. There's even a story talking about how you can use some of your pension to... Where is the story? Sorry, I'll read it as we continue. But tell us about how you can use pension savings to purchase a residential house or a retirement medical cover. Residential house today, I'm contributing to pension. I can use that money to actually purchase a house. Explain.
Absolutely. And you're right. Last time I was talking about why you should save for retirement and how we safeguard those savings. And I'm sure all of you have joined the pension scheme. So now that you have joined, now today I'm here to talk to you about the value additions that you can now get as you save for retirement. So one of them is indeed the mortgage, as we call it, which was actually introduced just last year through an amendment to our Act. And what this basically does is, because people have been saving in schemes and they have accumulated some good money, and we know that one of the critical things that somebody needs in retirement is a home. You don't really want to retire and then your landlord is coming to remove the door because you have not paid rent, or those kind of situations that we see sometimes. You want to be having your own home. So this is important. Of course, we know that the government agenda is for all Kenyans to have affordable housing. So this is why we made this amendment to say that, yes, we are saving for retirement, but we can allow you to take some of it out for this very noble purpose of buying a house. So what the law says is, from the amount that you have saved in the scheme, you can take out up to 40% of what you have saved, or 7 million, whichever is higher. So it's capped, and the reason it's capped is because we don't want you to totally lose the objective of saving for retirement, which is for you to get a pension or money when you actually reach retirement. So at least you are saving the 60%, which will still come back to you in retirement. But for now, you can take the 40% and use it to buy a home. Now, how is this practically on the ground? The law was amended last year. We did regulations, we did guidelines, which were gazetted. We gave schemes 1 year up to September this year to make those amendments to their regulations. And to make it easier for them, we did a template of the amendments that they need to do, which is on our website. So they just need to go to our website. They get that template. They tailor it to their own scheme, and then they submit it to us. And once we approve, they are good to go. So what does the member do? You're in the scheme. You have your, let's say, 10 million accumulated. So the law allows you to take 40%, which is 4 million. What does that mean? You get a house. You come to the trustees and say, I've identified this house. These are the details. This is the title deed and so on. I want to buy it. And then the trustees will actually pay for the house from your pension money. So they will pay directly to the buyer, and you will get the documents, and you can move into your house. So it's a great product, and it's another reason why you should save for retirement through your pension scheme.
So when the trustees pay out of your money, the 4 million, let's say now that 4 million that goes to purchase the house, does it mean that now your pension reduces by 4 million?
Absolutely. You will now only have 6 million. But of course, since you're still saving, that will continue growing, and it's also still invested. It will be growing. So when you reach retirement, you will get less than you would have otherwise gotten. But you will have
have a home.
So you can balance between those two.
This is music to my ears. Given I'm at that age where the word retirement is actually a massage to my.
And you've been saving for very many years, so your 40% is like 20 million.
Well, wishful thinking is allowed on this program. After all, it is a talk show. But let me ask something perhaps more pertinent. Many Kenyans save through the NSSF. Such the scheme that you mentioned, how would you practicalize it? When the news that we hear, I know you don't work for the NSSF, but the news that we hear is that most people who expect even their pension dues through the NSSF have issues getting just the monthly remittance that they expect. How then do you work with such a scheme?
First of all, let me say that NSF, I know, has had challenges in the past, but currently NSF is actually a scheme which is compliant with the Retirement Benefits Act. Initially when we came, there were a lot of compliance issues, a lot of challenges, but over the years, they are now compliant with all our requirements. So those days of people delaying to get their benefits are really not happening anymore. Right now, if you dial, there's a code that you can dial, and you can get your balance, and if there's an issue, you can quickly take it up. So you don't even have to struggle so much to get the balance. We have the annual general meeting of NSSF, which I attended personally the other day, and members can come, and if they have issues, they can raise them in that meeting. So things have really improved a lot, even in the investments, which had a lot of issues before. because our regulations say that you can only invest 30% in real estate, they have come down all the way from 76% some years ago, and now they only have 26% of the assets in real estate, which is compliant with our guidelines. But for the housing proposition, the challenge with NSSF is that the contributions that we make to NSSF are too low. Currently we contribute 200 shillings, and the employer, if you're lucky to have the employer, 200 shillings. At that rate, even after 20, 30 years, what you're going to have there is not going to be anywhere near what you would need for a house, even if you took 100%, let alone the 40%. Now, the good news is that back in 2013, the law was amended. The NSF Act was amended to allow for higher contributions to NSSF, which would have been 6% of salary for employer and 6% for employee. That would have been a more reasonable amount, which would now enable members to enjoy some of these benefits because they have been contributing a significant amount. And and the beauty of that law is that if you are not comfortable with NSSF, it allowed you to opt out what they were calling the tier 2 contributions, which is the 6%. And move it to another scheme of your choice. Remember, for us, we have registered 1,250 schemes. And out of those schemes, we have the individual schemes which anybody can join. And you have umbrella schemes, and you have all kinds of exciting schemes. So if you are not comfortable with sending your 6% to NSSF, you would retain the 200 going to NSSF, and this 6% you would take it to another scheme of your choice. In which case, now you would be able to benefit from these kind of products. Unfortunately, the implementation of that new act has not taken place because of various legal challenges. But our understanding is that there's been some kind of agreement, and we may see that coming soon.
I know you mentioned this the last time that you were here, but just so that I understand it clearer, can individuals join the RBA scheme? Can you join the RBA and decide, I want to join Retirement Benefit Authority and I want to contribute to it?
No, you can't join us because we are the regulator. We are just there to supervise.
I can't join the regulation.
But we have registered, for example, what we call individual pension plans. We have registered 35 of them. So you can join any of those schemes. We have occupational schemes, but we also have the individual schemes. Occupational schemes are the ones that are started by employers. So it's only the employees. If you're working for Standard, you would join Standard Media Group scheme. But these other individual schemes are open to anybody to join. So you can just walk in tomorrow. In fact, if you go to our website, you'll see the list is there. And some of them you can even join through the phone. You don't even have to go there. You can just register and all that through your phone and so on and join. So you will not be contributing to us, but we will be supervising that scheme that you have joined. So we register them and we monitor them continuously to make sure that your money is safe. And if you have a problem, you can come to us, and then we can assist you with the problem. So that is how it works.
Then is it your recommendation then that any scheme you join then is RBA regulated? And is it possible to have a scheme operating in this country that is not RBA regulated?
No, it's illegal to run a scheme without registration from us. So the first step is for them to come to us for registration before they start operating. So you're safe.
Okay. And I think that's the question that a lot of people, have. And that could then look at the hesitancy that people have sometimes is, I'd rather keep this money under my mattress, than put it somewhere where I'm not sure what's going to happen in the near future. Or if this scheme shuts down, if this company goes, becomes insolvent, things like that. What then happens to my money? I save for the next 20 years. I turn however old, and then I can't get access to this. It's a fear that is resident in the minds of very many people that then stops them from saving. How do we counter that, Mr. Nzomo?
This fear actually comes from people investing and saving in the unregulated space. We have had pyramid schemes. The other day there was one called Amazon something, which with people's money. These are unregulated products. So people put their money there, they burn their fingers, and then they become very reluctant to, invest in anything. But what we always tell members, you should always invest in regulated space. So if you're investing in a pension scheme, you know that one is regulated. If you're investing in, something like a unit trust or something like that, it is regulated by Capital Markets Authority. If you're investing in a SACCO, there are those which are regulated by SASRA. So once you invest in a regulated space, you have that protection because somebody is there monitoring what those people are doing. Somebody is there in case you have a challenge and so on. But the second you invest in the unregulated space, the pyramid schemes and so on, then there's nobody who is going to save you. You saw what happened even with those the pyramid schemes, and it even went to Parliament and so on. But at the end of the day, they were never
the money goes.
Sure.
The money was lost forever.
Okay.
It goes.
So
There's also competition in many people's minds when it comes to putting money aside. There's putting money in a retirement scheme. There's putting money in a SACCO. And to very many people's minds, that will be one and the same thing. I'm putting aside money, which I can use later, which I can use to take a loan, it's some sort of investment. And I'm sure there's a lot of work that RBA has done in trying to create awareness and distinguish between all these investment vehicles and that you can use. But you can just do that right now and say, what's the difference between putting money in this scheme and putting money in a SACCO? Because we have seen a proliferation of SACCOs in the country.
Yes, as an individual, of course, you may have different financial objectives. And in the market, there are different products which cater for different objectives. So SACCOs cater for those who need short-term liquidity or credit. So you save and then you're able to take a loan and you pay for pay it over 4 years or 5 years in some cases and so on. So it is a very good vehicle for you to achieve certain short-term objectives because you put the money in and then you borrow and you pay over a short period. Pension is a long-term saving for retirement. So you're specifically saving to cater for you when you will be, 60 or 50 or 55, whatever, when you are going to retire. So as you're saving in the pension scheme, you don't have this objective of getting the money soon. You know that you're putting that money there and you'll get it later. And you also know that by leaving it there for a long time, the interest income is going to earn is going to make it multiply, several times. So it will be much more than what you've actually put in. You put in yourself. So these are different products with different end objectives. But just to put a plug for pensions, out of all these products, pensions is the only one which gets the tax incentive because the government appreciates that, saving for retirement is a very noble thing. So in the pension space, you get tax deductibility on contribution. You get the investment income is tax-free. When you retire, you get some tax incentives. If you have a 65, your pension is tax-free. So if you are contributing to the SACCO and to the pension, I will be taxed after deducting my contribution to the pension. But you in the SACCO, you will be taxed on your full income before the deduction. So pension is tax advantaged. That is one difference between pension and SACCO.
Okay. The issues that people have, obviously with, putting money aside for the future. And even now, there are many people who've not made that decision. And again, there's that trepidation that, all right, here, I don't have enough time. I've maybe wasted the last number of years. Is it too late? And then amounts in terms of what you can actually start to put aside. Is anything too little? Especially now that there's so much competing for that which you have on a monthly basis, for example. Is there too little for you to be able to start on?
It cannot be too little. It's better to have something than nothing. But certainly, the earlier you start, the less you have to contribute. So, when you are very young and you start saving, you'll be contributing a very small amount because you have all those years to contribute and it's going to grow, it's going to be invested and so on. If you're coming into the game late, then in order for you to achieve certain objectives, then you'd have to contribute more. But if you can't, it's still better for you to contribute the little amount so that at least you get something when you reach retirement. Yeah.
Let me ask this question. It's something I like asking.
Let's take a break first, and not breakfast. Let's take a break, And then we will
Let's take a break, and then I can fast track my question.
and then you can fast track your question after the break. 25 coming to 26 minutes after 8. Having a conversation with Nzomo Mutuku, the CEO of the Retirement Benefits Authority. Did you know that now you can actually withdraw up to 40% of your money in the pension scheme to purchase a home? This and many others are what Nzomo Mutuku is educating us on today. If you've got any questions to Nzomo, you will open up the phone lines at some point after the break. In the room with you this morning is Eric Latif, Nduoko, CT Muga, and Nzomo Mutuku, the CEO of the Retirement Benefits Authority. Did you know, again, that now, since beginning last year, since the Retirement Benefits Act was amended, you can withdraw up to 40% of what you've saved up in your retirement benefit scheme to purchase a house. And like the CEO has explained to us, so you identify a house, you go to the trustees of your scheme, you show them the documents, and they pay directly to the developer, and they give you the documents, 40% towards a house. Now, very many people choose to buy a plot and build, and they feel it's better. They get more value for what they're doing. Can such people benefit from this?
Good question. And, Kenyans love plots, and they're always buying plots all over, and they want to build. But no, unfortunately, the law doesn't allow you to buy a plot and build. And the reason is because of what I said earlier. We don't want to defeat the primary purpose of the scheme, which is saving for retirement. And, once you allow this building, the chance of abuse is very high. Somebody may take the money, and the trustees would not really be in a position to know whether a house is being built or the money has been diverted into other consumption activities. We have had cases of people getting money and marrying second wives and going on binges and so on. So it's really
that's also buying a home.
In fact, buying into a stability of mind for the future.
Yes.
What we are saying is, we are allowing this leakage of money which is supposed to be for retirement, but let's be sure that it's used for the purpose that we have allowed, and that purpose is buying a home. Okay. You can imagine if the money comes out, and then the guy reaches retirement, and that money is gone, and so he has like double loss. So that is why that is not allowed. But maybe in future, if we'll have better mechanisms, and after this other one has settled down and is working well, we can look at maybe making an amendment to allow that, so long as it can be tightly enforced.
Even the last time when you were here, we talked about what is it that happens to people when they get a certain age, to that certain age, at the age of retirement, and medical expenses rise. How can you take advantage of what you were saving earlier in your youthful years at this point or in future for your medical expenses?
Yes, medical is a big problem for the elderly. When we do our surveys where we go and talk to people who have retired, what we call pensioner survey, and we ask them about their life in retirement, they always tell us that their biggest challenge is actually medical. As you get older, you have more possibility of illness, and it even becomes more expensive to get medical cover, and sometimes even you are denied medical cover. Some time back, we came up with a product to address this again within the pension scheme, and this is called Postretirement Medical Fund. And what this means is while you're still young and while you're still working, as you're contributing to the pension, you also contribute some money to this fund, which is specifically for medical in retirement. And it can be both yourself and the employer also contributing. If the employer is ready and able to contribute, they can also contribute. So you have your pension fund, and you also have this other fund called the Postretirement Medical Fund. You're putting your money in. When you reach retirement age, now the scheme is able to go and buy for you a medical cover, which caters for you for the rest of your life. And the beauty about the scheme being the one to do it is that the scheme is in a much better negotiating position because the scheme is coming, with many members. Schemes some have thousands and thousands of members. So when you go to negotiate on behalf of these huge numbers, you're able to get a very low premium and use that money to get that cover. But when before people used to go alone after they've retired, they've been given their money, even though they have the money, they would be charged very high rates at those older those older ages. So this is a great product. It's new, so of course people are just starting to save now, but over time they'll accumulate enough, and then they'll be able to get the medical. But what we have done, because we also appreciate those who are close to retirement and have not had the chance to save in the post-retirement medical fund, the law also allows you now, out of the pension, you can take 10% of that to purchase or transfer it into the post-retirement medical fund, so that you also benefit from those benefits that the others are going to benefit.
So I take it that, again, if one were to visit your website, there'd be a list of healthcare providers or insurance providers who you would recommend for them to join or to apportion some of their pension funds to.
For now, this is being done through the pension scheme, and it is a pension scheme which would now go and buy with the medical providers that you're talking about.
Does it cover NSSF?
So NSF has yet to implement a post-retirement medical fund, but perhaps they will when we move to the 6% rates. But I think now with the 200, it may not really be practicable. But other schemes have. So for now, it is through the scheme, the pension scheme. So if you join one of those individual schemes I talked about earlier, a number of them have set up post-retirement medical funds. So you would now contribute through that. And then at the end of the day is when now the medical provider will come in. So this first stage is really an accumulation phase. You are accumulating money. And then when you reach retirement, now that's when you will go and get the medical cover.
I keep going back to NSSF. I think you understand why. The majority of Kenyans who have worked, wherever it is they have worked, that is the one pension fund that they have been contributing to. And it isn't as though when they retire, their retirement needs are less than those who perhaps were in employment that enabled them to earn more and get into better schemes. So I'm going to dovetail into what I wanted to ask you before we went on to the break. You see, so that this situation that I am referring to doesn't become too daunting a reality for many people, does the Retirement Benefit Authority have a scheme by which at secondary level they begin talking to young people about saving? Not retirement, just saving. At university level, when somebody is also thinking about getting into a position of employment, are there ways in which they get young people to begin to understand the importance? It will be beneficial to the authority, because what it then means is you'd have a larger base of people who are actually putting money, no matter how small, into this entire system. But also, people would begin doing the thing that would benefit later at a much earlier age, and so be able to benefit from a larger pool of money, and even individual benefits to themselves for a larger amount because they started doing this earlier.
Very, very good question. Very good question. You have to start earlier, and you have to educate people about saving from a very young age. So we have done a number of things. One, we partnered with our other financial sector regulators, the central bank, who deals with the banks, Capital Markets Authority, who deals with capital markets, and Insurance Regulatory Authority, who deals with insurance. And we supported inclusion of some of these financial literacy things in the school curriculum. The new CBC, which is being rolled out. So we are going to have these issues being mentioned to students from as early as school, not even university, school, but of course in a very simplified, very simplified manner. So that as they go through the system, is something is not strange. You don't come to hear about saving for retirement or pensions or insurance and so on when you're already working. It's something that you have been with you. But of course, that is a long-term project. But for more immediate, we have done a number of initiatives targeting the youth. Just the other day, I was on one of your shows here. It's called the Chama Show, and it was targeting artists and sportsmen. And we were talking about how they can also save for retirement, because they get good income, and their nature of their careers is that perhaps they don't work for so long. They may retire at a young age. So it's very important for them to save, and we have products that they can use to save for retirement. We have also gone out to the markets and spoken directly to people working in markets, mama boggers, border riders, and so on, and told them how they can save for retirement. And normally when we do that, we go together with those schemes that I was talking about, because like I said, we are the regulator. We go with the scheme so that people can actually join on the spot. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of education to be done. Broader financial literacy, and again specific issues on pension is something that we are doing in our strategic plan. We have very specified strategies that we are going to use to try to address those groups, because those are the groups which are not currently within the system.
Like we said, there are very many people who will have many questions to ask this morning. One of them is already on the line. John from Elbagon has a question. I can see some questions on social media as well. So let's start with this caller. John, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very well.
Fine, thank you.
Yes, actually, you have just touched on what I wanted to raise or ask. Because, interestingly, a very small percentage of our working population are employed in terms of formal employment. Majority are in formal employment. And yet, most of the government structures, they tend towards the formal employment. Not just pension. Look at even NHIF. For a long time, NHIF has been for those people who are employed. Even the pension, I know most of the time is for, in majority, actually now, I might be wrong, but I think if not 99.9%, the people in pension are those in formal employment. Yet, majority of the people who have an income are in the informal employment. So maybe I know you have touched on it, but maybe they need to do more on that. They touch on these people because, interestingly, it's not like 10 years ago, or actually 20 years ago, where people say that I'm permanently employed. Nowadays, you don't have permanent employment. Nowadays, actually, people in the informal employment, they're the ones who can say that they have a permanent source of income. So my appeal is just to the authority to look more and go and talk to the people who are in the informal employment. And there are many, and they are willing to. They say that they don't know. They just need to be educated, and they'll be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, John is absolutely right. The statistics are there. 85% of our labor force is in the informal sector. So it's only 15% who are in the formal sector. And our pension coverage is at 22%. So maybe we have around 7% of informal sector who are covered. So yeah, most of the people are excluded. And John is absolutely right. The traditional pension schemes were targeting people in the formal sector. Because there were occupational schemes started by employers. There was NSSF, which was also targeting the formal sector, and so on. But things have changed, and things are changing. And we have three strategies to address this issue. One is what Muga mentioned, education, so that people in the informal sector know that they can save for retirement and how they can go about it. Two is products. You need to have products which are amenable to the informal sector. You can't have a traditional scheme which is saying you contribute at the end of the month and you send it to the bank and those kind of things. You have to have a scheme which is flexible so that you can contribute anytime because the nature of income in the informal sector is variable. Today you get some good money, for the next 1 week there's nothing. And then another day something comes. So you have to have a scheme which is flexible. You have to have a scheme which is easy to use. So that is why we are talking of use of mobile phone technology. You might not have a bank account. You might not have, those are structures, but you can still do all that through the phone. The third thing, of course, is making sure that those schemes enjoy the same tax advantages and so on as the others, so that they're not excluded, which we have done. So we do have schemes specifically targeting the informal sector, which are there. Even NSSF has one. They call it Haba na Haba, and you can join through your phone and you can contribute through your phone. And other private sector players, we have one called Mobikeza. We have M-Pension done by CPF. We have Gifter Pension done by Samara, and so on. All these products have now come. John is right, they are recent products. They never used to be there. So they have come recently, and they are targeting the informal sector. And we have seen quite good take-up amongst some formal sector players. So yes, three things: education, having the products, and having the right regulatory framework.
You know, when you talk about the informal sector...
Hold on, City. There's
Please.
Douglas is on the line, and he has a
please.
question as well. Douglas, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Latif.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, I'd like to pose a question to the CEO of RBA. He's mentioned that there's a bill that, or rather, there's a regulation that if it will be passed, then it means that NSSF cover will be enhanced in such a way that an employer will be contributing a percentage, and as well as the employee contributing a certain percentage. So my question is, if that is to take effect, I'm working on probability. The probability that is to take effect, and having the fact that NSSF is a government institution, what will happen to the private players, that is the private players who are contributing to the, who have schemes that are regulated by RBA? Will it mean that they will all collapse, or what will happen to it?
Okay.
Very good question again. Very good. You're absolutely right. If you have a mandatory scheme coming, it has a risk of crowding out the private schemes which are there. But I think I mentioned, in this case, you have an option of opting out to your private scheme. So if you have a scheme which is well run, which is giving higher returns than maybe what you are getting from NSSF, or you feel there's a better place for you, then you opt out and you send this higher contribution to the scheme. Now, because most of the private schemes are already having those contribution rates of 6% or even higher, 10%, 15%, and so on, not much will change for those who are in the other schemes. But the people who are going to benefit most from this are the people that Muga talked about, who are only in NSSF, and they're not in these other schemes, because they're only contributing 200. But you see, now they will at least be contributing an amount which would be adequate for them to get something in return. So for that, those in the other private schemes, it's not going to affect them much, because they're already in these schemes, and the law allows you to be in those schemes instead of the NSSF.
There's some questions on social media as well.
Right. So Carol's asking, can I use my pension to offset an existing mortgage? Now that you have this mortgage scheme, can it be used to do that?
That question comes up, and no, you can't. It's an interesting one. You already have a mortgage, so you already have a house.
I'm paying.
Which you're paying, and then now you want to use the pension to offset. And the reason that is not allowed is because really this product that came, it was targeting at those who have been excluded from getting homes in the current financial system, because we have people who have homes already, we have people who have been able to get mortgages and so on. So for them, we don't think they should compromise their retirement objectives by now starting to use this money for this, because they have already been catered by what is in the financial sector.
But you see, like in the last 1 year since COVID came, and you've seen the number of houses that have been foreclosed. Because yes, you had initially qualified to a mortgage, you started paying, but circumstances have changed. And now you're at a point where you're unable to continue servicing your mortgage, but you've been contributing and you have some money saved in retirement benefit scheme.
Let's not forget that.
And it's clear it's a home, and it's in your name. It's charged to a bank. So the trustees can basically have all the verification that's required, because they'll just go and pay the bank.
Let's not forget that this 40% we're talking about is for people who are still working and still saving towards retirement. But you could have somebody who has been retrenched and he had a mortgage, and he's struggling to pay because he has been retrenched. But remember, when you're retrenched, the law allows you to actually go and get most of your pension money out. So you would go and get your money and you would pay off the mortgage. So you don't need this scheme.
Okay.
This scheme is for those who are still working and saving.
Actually, you do, because what we're asking for here is flexibility. If you can offer 40%, you can also offer 20%, because somebody may be retrenched, but they need reprieve until they can sort themselves out. They may not even reach that mandatory retirement age, but they have quite a chunk saved up. All I'm saying is, a scheme like, I'm not saying you hadn't thought of it. No, I'm not saying you hadn't considered it. I'm simply saying sometimes a little flexibility in the scheme. That's something that we couldn't have foreseen COVID, but it's here with us. And should it not give us an opportunity to rethink some of the things that we have, good as they are?
Of course, we must learn lessons from what we have seen. So we shall certainly pick lessons from the COVID pandemic, which you're right came after we had already done some of these things.
But that's not really what I wanted to ask.
But
I wanted to ask for something else. But please say what you want to
but
say.
just to say, even if you have not reached retirement age, and our current system, and this is one of the lessons from COVID, why people should save in pension schemes. If you are retrenched and lose your job, you can go to the scheme. Even at, let's say, 45 or 40, you have been retrenched at age 40, you can go to the scheme, and the scheme will pay you back your own contribution plus all the interest that you've earned, and the employer's contribution 50%, and all the interest that it has earned over time. So, it's a big chunk of money
you
that
have
access to when you lose your job. Now, let's talk about COVID. What happened when COVID came? We have that category of people who are working and were saving for retirement, either through occupational schemes or individual schemes and so on. One day, we had COVID has come, there's a lockdown, they're working in hotels, been closed, we don't go home. Those who are saving for retirement, they came to their pension schemes and they got their money, and it was able to cushion them for them to go forward. But those who had nothing, what happened to them? They had nowhere to go. One day you're working, it is so sudden, it's normal retirement, you can plan for it and so on. But this one is so sudden, and then you're out, you have nowhere to go. So one of the lessons from COVID is that put money in your pension scheme. Yes, it is targeting retirement, but that money may come and help you when something like COVID or some other issue comes up very sudden.
The thinking towards including, yes, you've talked about the informal sector, of course, which brings Juakali to mind, farmers. And I'm talking about small-scale farmers, the backbone of most of the farming in this country. Do your schemes also target such individuals?
Yes, but the challenge is we need some way of an entry point, some kind of aggregation where farmers have come together in groups and so on. It would be very hard for a scheme to be driving around Muranga and going to from farm to farm, trying to register people. But if we have, an association, and we have, of course, the SACCOs which do that, and other chamas and so on. And that's why I was on the chama show, because I thought that was a very good route for us to to get some of these people. These associations are the ones who should bring the farmers together, and then they can come as a group to join the scheme. I think that is the feasible route, and I think it's something that we are working with. We did urge, chama groups, even as they save for other things and they do other projects together and so on, they can also have a component of saving for retirement. So the chama will say, every month people are contributing their 500 and so on. Let's add another 50 bob, and this 50 bob, we take it to the pension side. So yes, I agree with you totally, but we need to find a vehicle to bring them on board.
As you're doing all of this, it's clear that, trying to go through towards, more penetration and such. Is it clear that there is an appetite for saving for retirement?
Yes. When those schemes I mentioned were launched, which were specifically targeting informal sector and so on, they were able to get very good uptake in the first few weeks and months that they operated. But unfortunately, when COVID came, things slowed down. One, they could no longer go out into the field and, market to people and bring people on board. Two, of course, people were also having other financial challenges, and therefore, saving now took a back seat. But we hope with COVID easing up perhaps as we go forward, we'll see this appetite come back again, and we continue to get more people on board.
As we look at all those things that you've talked about, I want to ask a question with regards to this the post-retirement medical fund, where you say now it's possible to actually set aside some fund as you're contributing to your medical scheme for that. Is it automatic, or do you have to talk to the trustees of your scheme and say, I'm applying so that I can set aside some money into this fund? Or is it automatic that as you contribute, part of it is going to the fund?
It's not automatic. The trustees have to put in place that mechanism for you to make those contributions. if I give the example of us as an employer, because RBA, we are also an employer, we set up this scheme, the Postretirement Medical Fund, within our pension scheme. We said it's voluntary, so you don't have to join if you don't want. But all our staff joined because all of them could see the benefit of joining. And they have all been contributing. So they are accumulating the money, and when they reach retirement, they will get that. But because you have raised that point, actually, we realize that we are leaving out those who are not in schemes, who would also benefit from post-retirement medical fund. So in the finance bill, which is before the House, we have a proposal for creation and regulation by us of post-retirement medical funds which are outside of pension schemes, so that we are not locking out those who are not in pension schemes. So we hope Parliament is going to pass that amendment, which is already there when the Finance Act comes, and then we shall now have this product for those who are outside of the schemes as well. So that's a very positive development.
Nzomo, always a pleasure to have you on the show. And as you go, today's proverb in Kikamba.
I'll say it in English, but it's a Kamba proverb. They say that the person in Kamba, we say that the person who has seen the ocean is not impressed by the lake. So if you have seen, that great ocean, when you come back to the lake, you will not be impressed. So if you have seen the great benefits of, saving for retirement and mortgage and post-retirement and all those great things, then you will not be impressed by the other products, pyramid schemes and other things around.
Oh, thank you, Nzomo. Thank you very much.